We have one viewer and we weren't live. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm told we have sound. So. Alrighty. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge that the Similkameen Valley on which we learn, work, and organize is the ancestral and territorial and unceded territory of the Similkameen people and is home to the Upper Similkameen Indian Band. Adoption of the agenda. Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Willis. Any additions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes from May 16th. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Seconder.
Second.
Councillor Willis. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Petitions and delegations. We have Maren, who's here to speak to us about our OCP progress. It's all yours.
Great, thank you. Oh, it sounds like a bit of feedback again.
Because you got that mic right beside the speaker.
I think that's better. Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Maren Luciani. I've been here before. I'm representing Meraki Community Planning, and we are supporting you, your staff, and the community with a review and update of your official community plan. We're here tonight just to give you a bit of a progress update and also go through some of the common themes that we heard through the first phase of engagement that just finished about a month ago now. So happy to be here. The first thing we'll do is just give you a quick progress update on where we are today in the work plan, and then go through key engagement themes as mentioned, talk a little bit about the next steps in the project, and finally there's some prize draws to happen at the end of the session related to all of the engagement opportunities that took place earlier. So what have we done so far? We've completed the technical review and background analysis portion of the OCP review and update work plan. We've held 2 staff workshops in this time. We've sent out initial referrals to government agencies, the Upper Similkameen Indian Band, and others. We've held community and stakeholder workshops as part of the first phase of engagement. We also had a community survey, a take-home activity, and a comment form as part of the first phase as well. We've compiled and analyzed the results of the first phase of engagement and put together an input summary. So we're here today basically to give you the highlights of the engagement input summary, but all of you should have received a copy of that as part of your council package, and it's also posted on the website for the public to review. So leading up to the first phase of engagement, it was really important for us to ensure that we reach the entire community. We understand that not everybody wants to participate in these projects, but so long as we did a good job of reaching everybody that potentially wanted to participate, we feel we've done our job well. So with support from Princeton staff, we promoted the project and the engagement opportunities in many different ways, starting with an announcement at the first council meeting that I appeared at in March. We also have a pretty detailed project presence on the Princeton website, and the web content for the project was launched early March as well. There were advertisements in the Similkameen Spotlight during March and April, and as I said, we sent out letters to various government agencies that typically like to or need to be involved in a review and update of an OCP to see how they would like to be involved. And for the most part, most of them said, you know, great, thanks for letting us know you're doing this, and keep us abreast of progress and share the draft plan with us when it's ready so we can take a look at it. So we also put together a stakeholder group, and that was basically a long list of local organizations in Princeton, including major employers, developers, realtors, arts and culture groups, schools and daycares, environmental groups, anyone and any group that we could think of that has a presence in Princeton. So all of those agencies or organizations received ongoing emails throughout the first phase of engagement to ensure that they alerted their networks to the opportunities. We also reached out to the Upper Similkameen Indian Band on numerous occasions by email and phone, letting them know how they could get involved and that there would be targeted engagement available to them if they wish to take advantage of that. And we kept them in the loop on the general engagement opportunities that were available to them as well. We used Facebook and Voyant Alert to get the word out as well during March and April, and then we had a couple of posters, one specific to a design contest and another sort of project promotional poster that was posted in different places around the town. So the input summary that you received in your packages includes a summary of all of the engagement opportunities in the first phase of engagement, those being a community survey, a stakeholder workshop, a community workshop, a take-home activity and comment form for those that wanted to do more than the survey but weren't able to attend an actual virtual workshop, and then 2 staff workshops as well. We had a great response rate to the community survey. 255 people completed the survey, which is really amazing, especially for a town of your size. We had about 22 people participate in the workshop, so not quite as great in terms of numbers, but really good participation from those that did attend. And we had 4 families complete the take-home activity and comment form. So on to the key engagement themes. So broken this down into main priorities and challenges as far as what we heard through engagement. So as far as the survey respondents were concerned, the top 3 priorities Princeton should focus on in the next 20 years is, and these may or may not come as a surprise, housing, recreation, and infrastructure. So as far as housing was concerned, for example, respondents suggested that Princeton should prioritize catching up with the demand for housing with a focus on age-appropriate, affordable, and low-income housing. Top 3 challenges survey respondents said Princeton will face over the next 20 years. Again, housing, infrastructure was a big one, and economic development. So the housing shortage was identified as a main challenge as the population grows. Aging infrastructure and replacement of infrastructure that was damaged by the 2021 floods were of particular concern as well. And in terms of economic development, most people cited the retention of local businesses and economic diversification as challenges over the next few years. So we asked questions related to the existing vision within the official community plan and also the existing guiding principles, just to make sure those are still relevant, still resonated with the community. So as far as the vision is concerned, people did feel that it still represents Princeton quite well. There were some that suggested that it could be shortened slightly. As far as the guiding principles are concerned, again, we heard that generally speaking, the guiding principles still represent the town of Princeton. There could be some minor restructuring done just to help clarify or streamline some of those guiding principles and the content within them, but we'll look at that as we start to draft the updated plan. Small town character was a big theme throughout the first phase of engagement. So the engagement results indicated that small town character continues to be a main priority for residents in terms of the future direction of the community. Survey respondents rated maintaining small town character as very important. That was the majority of respondents, and then close behind, others rated it as important. So when asked what small town character meant to people, the responses were family-oriented, closeness to nature, knowing your neighbors, and a sense of security and safety in terms of the main themes there. Many residents expressed a desire to capitalize on outdoor recreation opportunities in the area and also market Princeton as a year-round destination. In terms of managing land use, what we heard, again, was housing was by far the most discussed theme during this phase of engagement. An overall shortage of housing as well as the rising housing costs were both noted. And this basically suggests the need to explore how housing policy within the OCP can be strengthened or enhanced to aid in housing affordability and availability in Princeton. So we'll be looking at that as part of the update. So we asked questions as well, and we had some good conversation, discussion about this in the workshops related to future growth and projected growth rates. And many people suggested that Princeton needs to be prepared for a potentially higher growth rate than the status quo, and that potentially higher growth rate and alternative growth scenario should also look a little bit different than the way Princeton has been growing to date. So what we heard is that, yes, we should be planning or being prepared potentially for a higher growth rate than 0.72% in the DCC bylaw, provided that housing supply catches up with demand. That growth should be more equally distributed throughout the sectors within the community, with still a focus on the northwest sector, but more with equal distribution throughout. A balance of infill and greenfield development was popular, and infill also was identified as a focus generally within the downtown area and just sort of in that general vicinity, and focused on both horizontal and vertical in its form. And finally, we heard that people would like to see more of a split between single-family and multifamily housing development. Again, with multifamily housing mostly focused close to the downtown core. And infrastructure, like I said, was another major theme throughout this phase of engagement. When we asked what amenities and services are lacking or could be improved upon, town infrastructure was rated #1, and what was most discussed, whether it was through the survey or the workshops, was roads, sidewalks, water, and sewer services, as well as recreational facilities. So what we heard again through engagement is residents would like to see more of a balance, or more balanced economic diversification and a focus on business retention. More general retail that serves the community, such as grocery store, and commercial use that serves visitors and tourists, although there were quite a few people as well that indicated that there needs to be a focus on servicing the local population before the tourists or the visitors. More focus on downtown revitalization. And we did hear that there were, so some had suggested that there may be a desire to regulate short-term vacation rentals within the community, but others suggested that this isn't really an issue at this time, since there are so few of them. So what we sort of glean from this is that there might be some more targeted engagement needed on that particular topic to determine if that's something that the community really feels should be regulated at this time or left for future. As far as healthy and active living is concerned, again, we heard that recreation is really important to people, as well as active transportation. People would like to see more year-round recreational opportunities. Some of the ideas that were thrown out were a recreation center, indoor pool, permanent pickleball courts, more parks, particularly in the downtown area, and additional sidewalk and trail connections, bike lanes in the community, particularly in areas that connect from the Kettle Valley Rail Trail. And finally, we had some good discussion within the workshops and some sort of general survey questions related to visual quality of the built form. So what we heard from respondents was they really wanted the town to focus on creating a cohesive community look and feel, that if there were to be development guidelines put in place, that they needed to be realistic and not create too much additional red tape. There was some uncertainty among people around the necessity for design standards for, say, multifamily development and for the business park. And again, from this discussion, we determined that there's likely some, well, we know there's targeted engagement that's needed on this topic, again, to flesh this out in a little bit more detail and really get a sense of the direction that the community wants the town to go in here. So other themes that we've heard throughout engagement, more mental health support and healthcare services needed. There were mixed feelings on tourism promotion. So like I said, a lot of people felt that there needed to be, commercial uses that supported visitors and tourists, but there really needed to be a focus on serving the needs of the local population first. A better transportation network between communities was a topic that came up on several occasions, and importance of the environment and a focus on sustainability and sustainable development. And there was certainly a common theme related to planning for an aging population and ensuring the needs of seniors today and in the future are met, particularly those that are looking to downsize but want to stay in the community and have that opportunity to age in place. So where are we going next? We do have a targeted survey that's been put together to gather that additional feedback on design guidelines in particular, and also the vacation rental regulations. So that is going to launch on June 9th, and that will be available digitally and also in hard copy. And once that's complete, that'll run for a few weeks. Then we'll start drafting the updated OCP based on all of the input that we gathered from engagement and technical analysis in the earlier stage. Once the plan is drafted and it goes through its review process, we'll prepare for a second phase of engagement that will likely be in the fall of this year, and that phase will focus on giving the community, stakeholders, First Nations, government agencies, and whatnot, an opportunity to review the draft and provide input into that. And generally speaking, so when I think about what this new OCP is going to be, some of the sort of key components of this update include enhancing the overall design, look, and feel of the document itself, solidifying Princeton's community identity. So there's a lot of areas where existing policies could potentially be clarified, and we're getting a lot of that sort of clarification or detailed information on what those look like through this first phase of engagement, which is good. updating existing goals and policies in key areas within the OCP, so that will be a focus of the update. Well, and adding new goals and policies in key areas. So in particular, in the growth management section, there's an opportunity to bring in that growth scenario and have a little bit more direction for the community and yourselves as decision makers in terms of, okay, what is it exactly that we are planning for, how are we getting there, and what do we need to be prepared for. So we are running on schedule and on budget. So right now we are in the second phase of the project, and we do anticipate that this project will wrap up by the end of this year. Again, we did have a little bit of a sort of glitch last year when the floods happened, so we had a little bit of a pause in the work plan, but we are catching up, and we do feel that we still can meet the project timelines. And again, we would continue, or we would encourage everybody to continue to be involved in the project. We certainly had a good response rate from the survey. And again, we had some really great discussion and good participation in the workshops. It would have been great to have larger numbers, but again, the input that we received was really useful. So we encourage people to check the project webpage. They can find the full input summary report there from the first phase of engagement. We will continue to post ads in the Similkameen Spotlight as we move along and get closer to the next round of engagement. Facebook and Voyant will still be used. And of course, there's an opportunity to contact Carrie or Mark with comments, suggestions, or concerns directly related to the project. And now, Carrie, I don't know if you want to do the prize draws now, or did you want to wait on that?
No, I think we'd like to do them now. Mark's got all the names in a little bucket here. We've got 4 draws, so I'm thinking we've got 4 counselors here. For each draw, one of them want to pull a name. That would be great.
Yeah, the 3 counselors.
Well, and the mayor.
Mayor doesn't get the vote. I'm not taking responsibility.
So yeah, we basically have a prize draw for each of the engagement opportunities. So if anyone participated in the community survey and included their name and contact information, they're automatically included in the prize draw. And similarly with the stakeholder workshop, the community workshop, and the take-home activity.
So we just drew the community survey. Councillor Elliott has pulled.
My name? No. Cole McNish. Congratulations.
While they're doing that, can I ask a couple questions?
Yes, absolutely.
On your other themes, there was 3 that really kind of stood out that I took interest in. The mental health and health support, or healthcare services. Do we have a breakdown on what the feeling was on those? Since those are provincial jurisdictions, we don't, I mean, I work just about daily on those things, but I'd like to see if there was a better, like a clear picture of where everybody's looking or wanting to see something.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. There wasn't really any specifics there. It was more so that there wasn't a need to, to support services in that area. So I can go back to the results and see if we can pull out some sort of more targeted input. But it was sort of more of a general, general theme that came out of it, but didn't really have any specific sort of direction related to it.
Okay. And I think we have another winner for,
The live stakeholder workshop winner is.
Sean McAfee for Annie's Coffee.
Ah, right on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Sean. Okay, and since they're going to pull another one, I'll ask you another question.
Sure.
Again, in other themes, transportation between communities. Was that more directed towards something like Greyhound, or public transit, or what were they looking at there?
Yeah, it was certainly related to public transit, and the key theme was around sort of that availability and accessibility piece. So more convenience, better times, better availability.
Okay.
And I know that's something that you're all, I think, working with BC Transit on.
Yeah, we are. We're looking at a regional transit service instead of a municipal service.
Okay.
Do we have another winner, or? Okay.
Take-home draw.
Oh, the take-home activity and comment form?
Okay.
Ron Lewis.
Ron Lewis won the take-home activity and comment. And with that, I have one last question. Oh, I guess I have to draw too. The last question is around the environment and desire to focus on sustainability. Did we have any more information on that, or was that on municipal services or municipal buildings, or was that just in general environment, green things?
Yeah, 1 second, I'm gonna pull that back up because I've got some notes on that here. Make sure I get it right. You can go ahead and draw.
It just says Neil, guest. So they'll have to see if we can find who that is. Oh, you have Neil's email. Okay, we have an email for Neil apparently, but no further information. Yeah, so it's the fourth one there, importance of environment, focus on sustainability.
Yeah, so it was basically related to the recent weather events within the community. So in particular, the flooding. So there were some results suggested that there is a desire to focus more on sort of natural disaster planning and mitigation. And there was also some themes related to the town becoming known as a green community.
Okay.
So there was sort of two things there. So there was one related to natural disasters, and there was another one related to capitalizing on your existing assets related to the natural environment.
Okay. Excellent. Does anybody from council have a question? Or any comments?
The only comment I would make is that in the past, when we went through this process, it was invaluable information in terms of making decisions as far as our council decisions. You can't change everything immediately, but you can use the input that you get from these processes to be able to shape your decisions that you do make. And again, it can't happen immediately, but it certainly can, over a space of time, it can result in some good decision making.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's also good to see that a lot of the priorities that people have are also priorities that we're already about halfway through
Yeah.
working on. So it doesn't seem like we're that far out of step with the way the population is feeling right now. So that's good. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, I guess that's it. I want to thank you so much. This has been great, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Great. Thank you for having me this evening.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Do we need that on anymore? I'm so blind.
There was a little black thing on the bottom of your picture,
Yeah.
so you couldn't see what was happening, but I was thinking,
I almost had a nap. It got dark all of a sudden. I did look up the short-term Airbnb rentals in town. There's 3. 2 have more than one occupancy, and 1 is just a bedroom. The other one's another bedroom that can have 2 people, and then there's another one that can have a couple more people. So it's really doesn't look like it's a big issue in the community at this time.
I think think the biggest issue right now, from the feedback that we received is people are concerned that if we start having short-term rentals, we don't have enough rentals right now for people to live long-term. So then if people are being expected to be evicted come, May, so that people can have those summer short-term rentals, then these people are going to be displaced.
You also get a lot of introductory questions coming our way now.
Do we? Okay. Excellent, okay. We'll move on. Gotta put my glasses back on. We will go on to staff report, 6.1, Concession Roof Memorial Park, CAO.
Yes, so the purpose of this staff report is to award the contract to replace the roof, the concession roof. If council remembers, this is something that actually we wanted to do last year, but last year it was just very, very difficult to get any interest or anyone to even look at the roof, as the roofers were very busy last year. We did send out an invitation to quote to a number of companies. We only received one quote from a local gentleman, and I'll just say that it does fit within our budget and the timeline, so we'd like to proceed with that work.
Okay, questions?
Call the
Council-
question.
Okay. Councilor McLean is, I think,
that.
making the motion.
I think that's good. Is that what you did?
Councilor Willis is seconded. Any questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. That's the first one. Second one, I guess Nadine's not here, so children's soccer program information. We had a staff report from Nadine. Are you going to speak to that,
Sure,
CAO?
I can speak on her behalf. It really is just for information only, and it does sort of fit in with council's desire and initiative to sort of get back to normal after going through a couple years of COVID and flooding. So Nadine with our recreation department initiated this soccer program, and as you read there, it was very, very successful and very busy. So people were very appreciative of the program.
Excellent, thank you. The recommendation is
Just to receive.
to receive.
Yeah.
Motion?
So moved.
Councilor McLean, seconder. Councilor Willis. Any comments?
Just that it's great to see that amount of
That is-
involvement.
it
And
is.
it doesn't matter what it is in terms of what kind of recreation or sports or whatever, it's great to see that amount of involvement. And
Yeah.
and now that we're over the whatever that we're
Scared of
going
each other.
through, I think it'll only
Get better.
it'll only build,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, I was up there most weeks, and there's a ton of kids, and it seemed really well run, and yeah,
Excellent.
I think it's great.
Excellent. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, what impressed me more than anything else, and we're all talking about the same thing, but I want to emphasize that 22 volunteers, like in a community where groups are having trouble pulling volunteers, this was pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.3, Age-Friendly Communities Grant Program, Healthy BC Communities. Carrie.
Thank you. BC Healthy Communities has announced their Age-Friendly Communities Grant Program. I'm requesting council for a motion to proceed with the grant funding for Age-Friendly Assessment and Plan. It's sort of a spin-off to the OCP. I'm also asking that it be awarded to Meraki Planning as she is doing our OCP update and review. The grant application is due July 5th. What else can I tell you guys about this? It's basically doing a bunch of surveys, workshops, talking with our seniors in our community, talking to them about outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation, housing, social participation, respect and social inclusion, civic participation and employment, communication and information, and community support and health services. We have some money left over in the budget from the OCP due to some grant funding that we received for active transportation, and then some money that Ed was able to provide through, what was that, through FireSmart? CRI. And so I'm recommending that we apply for this grant in the amount of $25,000, and then the remainder of the money to make up the 48,000, what was it? $61.50 come out of the OCP and update with you budget.
Councillor Elliott, did you have a question, or are you making a motion?
As I plan to age in place, I would move this, or I'd like to make the motion.
Okay, Councillor Elliott is making the recommended motion. Second it. Councillor McLean?
Yeah, can I ask if you're allowed to know what CRI is?
Community
Resiliency
Initiative.
Initiative.
Thank you.
We all work together on that.
I was like, which one was that?
It took 3 staff members.
I do have a question. Carrie, does this open us up to future possibility of grants later?
Absolutely. So we'll do the assessment, then we come up with a plan. In the plan, it will say where we're lacking or we may need to do some things, and then we can flag for future grants to go towards the plan.
Perfect. Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Takes us 6.4, Business Facade Improvement Grant Application for 301 Bridge Street. This is awesome. Mark?
Yeah, thank you. We've got a business facade grant application from 301 Bridge Street. This is the location that Energy One Fitness is at the end of Bridge Street. They've got a just shy of a $12,000 project. They've asked for the maximum, the $5,000 from the program to aid them in this. It's refresh of paint, new signage on the building, some exterior planters for their parking lot, new hardy siding on the Bridge Street front of the building, new soffit, and then of course equipment and labor to manage the project. They're looking to start immediately and have it refreshed by the end of the summer. So.
Excellent. Questions? Motion?
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, Councillor
Second it.
Williams is making the motion. Councillor McLean is seconding. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried. Excellent. It's good to see somebody using that program.
Can I ask what we did 20,000 for a year? Okay, and we've used 5 so far, or?
This is the first completed application we've had for this year. We had 2 completed last year.
I can't believe it, you know? Who comes down the street offering you $5,000 to fix your building?
I know, right?
Anyway, thank God there's some.
Oh, I just found a mistake. 6.5 is next, not 6.6. And that means the last one is 6.6. So the next one is UBCM Grant Application to support emergency planning for prolonged heat or high heat weather temperatures. Ed.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This grant is fully funded by the provincial government in response to the heat dome event that happened last year, and is trying to avoid the circumstances by which there were lives lost due to the heat dome. So this will cover a study in association with the RDOS to plan for future heat domes and identify locations where we're at greatest risk, provide locations where we might shelter individuals for daytime temperatures to get out of the heat that they're living in, and then we can support with future grant funding initiatives through the provincial government. So it's being handled by the regional district. It's a joint application for several municipalities within the regional district, and by doing it that way, we capitalize on the collective grant amounts and place that money use that money in the best way possible with the least amount of effort from staff.
And I'll just follow up on that. I did speak with Ann Ben from the regional district, and the person who will be taking the lead on this, what they found is like Tulameen or Comont might not necessarily in our case, or outlying areas might not necessarily have a facility that's capable of providing say a cooling center in the community. So ultimately, they would come into town and whatnot. So this would also include a inventory of all of the available, not only facilities, but park space and other natural spaces that we'd be able to use for cooling areas as well. So it's a really, doing it this way will be, I think, the most bang for our buck, and we'll get an overview of the entire region as to, if we do it by ourselves, we'll just be looking at what 5 or 6 facilities that we have that could do this, and that's it. So, Councilor McLean.
I would have thought I would have saw some First Nations representation on there.
That may come.
Is it more just like
This
a
is-
regional district
Yeah, it's a UBCM grant.
municipal?
I know the Upper Smoke Community Man, we've had conversations recently at another table, and they're looking at how to deal with the same things. So they may eventually come in on this. We're not sure yet. So, thank you. Councilor.
I'm assuming also that there's going to be some money put aside, or part of this grant is going to be used to help promote where these cooling stations and relief
No,
locations
not
are.
this. This is the first step. So it's kind of like some of the other grants we've done where you do the study and then there will be, it'll open doors to other funding. But if we don't have the first step done, then we won't be eligible for the next stage of funding. So what was the one that we did? Was it the housing needs? We had to do one study, and then once we'd done that study, then we qualified for the housing needs study report, and then off you go. So this will be very similar to that. This will just get us all the stuff, but once we have it, then we can put it into emergency planning and enact it just about immediately once it's all identified and figured out. So.
Yeah, my concern is that there was some confusion last year as to where some of these.
So last year's a different situation because we didn't qualify for a heating or cooling center because of the qualifications. So we had to ask, we requested, I talked to Ed requested from EMBC the opening of a cooling center, and I don't know if we got it initially, but I think you did eventually get it, but we opened it with volunteers at first.
If I might speak to that, Mayor Coyne. So to better answer your question, will there be a cooling center or something set up and people directed to those areas if we experience heat dome again? As the EPC, the Emergency Program Coordinator, and that sort of area of my work, people will have an opportunity as it becomes needed to seek those areas out if we're able to establish that. There are some parameters we have to comply with throughout the process, but I'm positive that we will be able to work with EMBC to provide those services to people who need them.
What if we kept the arena open all year?
I don't know if EMBC will pay us to keep the ice in. Okay, if there's no further questions, can we get a motion?
So moved.
Councilor McLean's making the motion.
Second, that was fair.
Councilor Willis seconding. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.6, development variance permit for 104 West China Creek Road. Mark.
Thank you. So we have a development variance permit for 104 West China Creek Road. This is one of the new lots from the 6-lot subdivision that's just being developed currently. The applicant is looking to put a new single-family home on the lot and has asked for a 1,050 square foot garage, which is north of the 807 square foot that's allowed under 6.3.1 accessory buildings. The requirement under the bylaw is largely for smaller, more urban residential lots. In this situation, the lot doesn't, or the coverage with the larger accessory building doesn't even hit 20% coverage when the allowable coverage under RS1 is 40%. So it's not a significant increase.
I'm wondering why this is in front of us.
Has to be.
This is going to cover 20% 20% of the area, and you're allowed 35% of the area? Can we not go in the future on that basis?
We have had some initial conversations that way to talk about some of these larger lots and how we can handle that to change these situations.
So I would say in the last 2 or 3 years, all the variances that staff has brought before council for approval is for a larger size shop or garage to be built. So me and Mark have had some discussions to look at maybe coverage and setbacks as a way to determine if a shop will fit in somebody's backyard rather than limiting them to an 807 square foot. But we're still discussing some of those.
We have also, with our recent secondary suites and carriage house changes, that increased the maximum coverage in RS1 from 35 up to 40, so it's, there's certainly room.
Yeah, well, as long as we're looking at it to be, have a look at it in the future so that we're not holding people up for no reason.
Would this be something that would be covered under the changes that are coming?
Well, they say minimal, so it depends on what we consider minimal. Like going from a fence in the front yard from 4 to 6 feet might be minimal, or like a couple inches into a setback area may be considered minimal. It depends on what the regulations come down. I'm not sure if council's aware, but right now legislative changes are coming, pending, where council can appoint a staff member or the CAO to approve variances without them having to go through a council meeting and having council approve it. So that's something coming down the line.
Councilor McLean?
I would so move.
Thank you. Councilor McLean is moving. Second it. Councilor Willis is seconding. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Oops. It takes us down to council reports. I'm going to start with Councilor Elliott, because he's the furthest away from me today.
Yeah, busy couple of weeks. Attended the PXA meeting on the 17th. The 18th of May was a road day for me. I went to Okanagan Regional Library meeting. The CAO, Don Nettleton, is retiring, and so they've chosen to get a headhunter to replace him. I had a really pleasant visit with him afterwards. He's sends his best wishes to you, Councilor
Will you
McLean.
extend my congratulations?
I certainly will, yes, yes. He shared some stories about you.
All good, I presume.
Yes, I would classify them as all good, yeah. Later the same day, I was in Penticton for a meeting with the Canadian Mental Health Association. And later this week, I'm going back to Penticton to attend the ribbon cutting of the opening of the new Unity House that's going to be conducted. The 23rd went to the Caramuas Rodeo Parade with the mayor and threw candy at pretty much everybody. I stuck around to watch the ladies barrel racing, and I enjoy watching the little kids. There were little girls out there doing pole bending, and that's always, to me, that's always exciting to see that that kind of sport crosses all the ages, and everyone was cheering on. Even the slowest participant got cheered right to the finish, and that's always, to me, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that. Went to mining day on the 26th, and on the 28th attended the Bruce Archibald fossil presentation at Riverside, which was put on by the Princeton Museum, and I was pleased to note that I was not the only fossil in the room. And that's my report.
What was I then? Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McLean.
My question, was there mutton busting?
I did not see mutton busting, but that is a blast.
That is a blast.
That is a blast, I must say, yes.
No kidding. I was at mining days and that sort of thing. We just finished running the Rotary Minor Hockey Princeton Posse Golf Tournament. It turned out very well. We had 64 golfers. We had 29 sponsors of one sort or another. Thank you, Councillor Willis as one of them.
It's good times.
It went off really well. The weather, it rained before we started and it rained when we finished, but while we were golfing, it was just perfect. So I don't have final figures on the amount of money raised, but it would be a substantial amount to be divided between minor hockey and Princeton Posse. But anyway, it turned out very well.
Councillor Willis?
I attended our meeting, did we have it last Friday? Was it Friday we had a meeting?
Yeah, right.
And then I did attend Randy's tournament there, which was a lot of fun, and I think it was supported really well. So, and then I just want to say that everyone should come out and to the rodeo here this weekend. You know, that's always a good time too, and it's I think it's Saturday and Sunday. So, that's my report.
Excellent. Try to keep to some of the highlights, I guess. On, I can't believe it's this long ago, on the 17th, we, staff and myself and Councillor Gould attended the Vermilion Forks Community Forest Corporation Field Day. We went up to a small block that we did up in, above Tulameen, between Tulameen, actually the top of Beer Hill. Where they did some fire mitigation work, and it was pretty impressive. Once you got into the thick bush to see how much work was done, it was all done by hand. They hand logged and they trimmed. It's all the principles of fire smart put in the bush, and they did. What? Do you remember how many hectares it was? Yeah, 9. 9. So 9 hectares, right? Yeah. So 9 hectares by hand to clean this area out, and pretty impressive. Unfortunately, funding ran out, and they weren't able to continue the rest of the block. But it was a good educational experience just to see what needs to be done in order to protect communities, because this stops the ground fire from being able to continue on and threaten communities. The 18th, I attended the Princeton Healthcare Steering Committee. I don't think you were on that one, right? It was a very important meeting because at that meeting we identified just what we talked about with Ed's motion there, that heat domes are going to be apparently something that's going to become regular. Just today we finalized we put together an ad hoc committee, and we just finalized a infographic that is going to be put out through ourselves, Interior Health, and the Upper Smokeman Indian Band. Tomorrow I'll be sending it off to the school district, and they will send it out to parents, and then they will hand it out at the clinic just to educate people on what to do in the case of extreme heat. And it's unique just to Princeton because we're the only ones that have done it. So from Headley to Princeton, it's just for us so far. What else did we do? Did mining days. That was really cool. Being able to see that new trolley assist system was something else. First of a kind out here, so that was pretty awesome. The amount of greenhouse gases that it reduces is astronomical. I attended the opening of Optimi Health as new facility up at the industrial park, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for our community. And I also, the same day, I attended the farewell gathering for Dr. Samuels, who will be leaving us pretty soon, and he will be replaced in the fall with a new doctor who's already committed to coming. In the meantime, there will be a locum. On the 28th, I attended the Rivers Ran Through benefit concert at the Legion, and I have to give Damon and Terry Bremner and the Legion the biggest shout out. They were able to raise over $104,000 at that benefit concert. The musicians all came and played from all over the place. Some were from up north, Quesnel, I think Fort St. John, Penticton. The Elvis Festival was involved. It was a fun afternoon. guess that's the short of it all. But yeah, pretty busy overall. Lots going on in the community. Now that COVID has been lifting, there's lots of in-person meetings again and still a lot of online, so driving you all over the place. Counselor.
Is there any pictures available of what you went to see in terms of the forest cleanup and that sort of thing?
I don't know if anybody took any. We could probably get some. I think Weyerhaeuser might have some, so we could.
It'd be really interesting to see. I can remember up north they did juvenile spacing and stuff, and it was amazing when you drove by a normal forest and then you went by one that had been, it just looked like a park comparison, and I'm thinking that probably that's what the
I took that one.
Put that on Facebook, the before and after.
Oh yeah, I took a picture of before and
It's amazing, the before and after.
Beautiful.
yeah. I'll see if I can find that.
Yeah.
We need to have it on our website or
It's
something.
on our social media. We did post that because we were standing in a group and you could see where the spot that wasn't done down on the road, and then I took a picture of where it was done, and it's like a park in the one spot, and the other spot it's just lots of fall down and just brush everywhere. So, okay, with that we'll move on to 8.1 correspondence receive and file. UBCM convention meeting requests. So I've already started a list, and we're working on that. So we have a recommendation that 8.1 be received and filed. Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Elliott, questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Number 9, 9.1, Princeton and District Community Services Society is requesting a letter of support for funding application. So they want to expand Vermilion Court, another wing, and they are asking us for a letter of support.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Willis, questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Motion to close, recommendation that the meeting be closed to the public for the purpose of considering the following: 90.1E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Willis, seconder. Councillor McLean, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And to that, good night, everybody.